So, in an effort to do something a little different, and I've had people asking me about prospects, and I've seen the comments, and I don't mind talking about prospects, but I've shown in my previews that I don't really like to, because prospects are such an unknown commodity until they play in the NHL. Once they play in the NHL, they're not prospects anymore. And, you know, I could point to any number of busts in the NHL, and I'm leaning towards possibly doing a video on busts in the NHL. Guys who were very highly thought of, came over or came up, and it just didn't work out. But I was looking through coaching staffs in the process of putting together these preseason previews, and I came across some names, and I'm like, I'm really glad they're still in hockey. And I thought, you know what, I should do a video about the guys I'm really glad are still in hockey and are still either assistant coaches, goalie coaches. I'm not talking about general managers and assistant general managers. I mean the guys down behind the bench, or the guys working with a team's goalies to make them better. And, you know, these guys somewhere down the road, potential coaches. The goalie coach, less likely, but still. For some of these assistants, they're going to get a shot at being a coach, and these are guys who may have been good, you know, players that I really cheered for when I was a kid or a teenager, or I became a fan of them after they retired for their conduct afterwards. It's a top 11 list because I couldn't eliminate number 11. And number 11 is the Boston Bruins goaltending coach, Bob Essenza. Backup Bob, goalie Bob, whatever you want to call him. Bob Essenza, still in hockey, goaltending coach for the Boston Bruins. I think that's pretty cool. Number 10 is Penguins assistant coach, Mark Recchi. Fantastic hire by the Penguins. I think Mark Recchi will do a good job. He was a very good player. He scored a lot of points, but more than that, he was a leader for the Bruins in 2011, and his role was understated and underrated. Put it that way. And Recchi, when they won that Stanley Cup, they really wanted him to carry that cup around because he was a major part of that team. Number 9, Nashville assistant Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy wore the flying V for the Vancouver Canucks. And it's easy to forget he's still in hockey, and he's kind of following Laviolette around. He was assistant coach in Philly as well. And Kevin McCarthy was always a guy I respected on the ice. And I'm sure that at some point in time, hopefully, he gets a shot at being a head coach too. I think that'd be pretty cool. Number 8. Underrated to some extent, only if you don't follow goalie coaches, Rolly Melanson, now with New Jersey, helping to fix whatever may have been an issue for Corey Schneider last season. And he'll fix it. Rolly Melanson is a very good goaltending coach, very good track record, and I remember him being an underrated goaltender for the New York Islanders. And, you know, he's Billy Smith's backup. It's easy to be overshadowed by one of the greats in Billy Smith, but he was a damn good goaltender himself. Number 7, Vancouver's own Nolan Baumgartner. Not just the name of a dog on Letterkenny, Nolan Baumgartner. Never made it in the NHL, was a top 10 draft pick by Washington. Bust, total bust. But I believe he played over 1,000 games in the American Hockey League. And he was a player coach for Vancouver's farm team, for the Manitoba Moose for a while as well. And being a player and an assistant coach, he wasn't the coach, assistant coach, I've always respected that role. I know Mike Keane did it as well in Manitoba, and I'm pretty sure Bomber did too. I'm really glad he's got a shot at assistant in Vancouver, and he always seemed like a really good team guy. Number 6, San Jose goaltending coach Johan Hedberg, Moose. Came in like a ball of fire with Pittsburgh, and at the start of his career was named Moose because he came up from the Manitoba Moose and he was wearing his Moose mask. He didn't have time to change over to Pittsburgh. The name stuck, and from then on, no matter where he played, he had a Moose mask. And he, honestly, Hedberg, I'm glad he's a goaltending coach for San Jose. I always liked him as a goaltender. Not really a bona fide starter, but not a bad goalie, and I could see how he'd be a very good goalie coach. Number 5. Going to Calgary on this one. Marty Jalina. See how nice this list is? Whether I like a team or I don't like a team, it doesn't matter. Because I'm just talking about the players that are assistant coaches or goalie coaches. And Marty Jalina, assistant coach in Calgary, he should be an assistant coach in Vancouver. I get it. Jalina's got a longer history with the Calgary Flames organization now than he did with Vancouver. But in my heart, he'll always be a Canuck. So that's just me. That's my own personal cross to bear. At number 4, Dallas Stars assistant Stu Barnes. He's a natural. I've always felt that the defensive forwards, would be the best suited players for teaching young guys coming into the league. Because for the guys who come in with the defensive deficiencies, a guy like Barnes can teach that. But Barnes was also decent offensively. He was no slouch at either end of the ice. So I think eventually Stu Barnes becomes a coach somewhere. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. Number 3, going back to Pittsburgh on this one. Yeah, Pittsburgh's got 2 spots on this list. Sergei Goncharov, assistant coach for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was always a large fan of Sergei Goncharov. I know that towards the end of his career, his mobility was an issue. I didn't care. I still felt that he had a really good booming shot from the point. And I like the guy. And I'm glad he's an assistant coach. And I think Pittsburgh, with Recchi and Goncharov, that's great. There's going to be all kinds of goals scored with those guys teaching them how to score. And with the defense in Pittsburgh that, let's be honest, Dumoulin signed a 6-year, $4.1 million a year contract, and he's full value as a defensive defenseman, but he's not an offensive dynamo. Maybe Goncharov can get something out of him that way. Number 2. This is a feel-good story, no matter how you look at it. Manny Malhotra, assistant coach for the Vancouver Canucks. Never should have left the Vancouver organization. Famously took a puck in the eye. His eyes were never right after that. I understood why Mike Gillis wouldn't put him on the ice. Mike Gillis very concerned that there'd be another injury, something might happen. But Malhotra should have retired a Canuck, and I'm really glad he's back in the organization. That's where he belongs. And number 1, the New York Islanders made a brilliant move in May to hire Luke Richardson as their assistant coach. Luke Richardson should be a head coach in the NHL. I understand him taking an assistant coach's job because there's nothing else available right now for him. But I really think he's going to be a strong head coach someday. And I'm going to stick to that theory until it happens. So there's my 11 list of assistant coaches and goalie coaches. And again, I'm leaving general managers out of this. I may get into assistant general managers at some other point. But this is just like the guys I keep an eye on, the guys I'm happy to see are still in hockey. And it's a mix of the fact that I may have cheered for them as players, or I respect them as players. And Bob Essenza, still a goalie coach. That's pretty cool. Just hoping I'm not pulling any outdated information, but you guys will let me know if I have, because you guys are good at that. No, I'm pretty sure this is because Luke Richardson was just hired by the Islanders. The one problem is that on the website that I'm using, the Minnesota coaches, yeah, they show the Minnesota coaches as the Nashville coaches. So apparently Peter Laviolette is both the coach of the Predators and the Minnesota Wild. That makes him the greatest coach in the history of hockey because he coaches 2 teams at the same time. I really can't imagine that, but, hey, let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you so much for watching. No, I'm not wearing a jersey. It's hot. I'm wearing a t-shirt. These things happen. And besides, I got to rock the new Rick and Morty shirt because, I got to rep that. So, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.